Dear attendees, my name is Vishal and I welcome you all to this live session by Great Learning. There have been continuous electricity issues for past week at my place, and that has caused a lot of hinders in going ahead and continuing with this session. So we had to cancel this session a couple of times as well. And right before I was planning to start this session today, I've been experiencing some issues. So if I'm audible to you guys, quickly say yes. I've connected through my mobile internet just to ensure that the stream goes on and you people do not experience any inconvenience. So if you can quickly confirm in the chat if I'm audible to you people or not. If yes, then we can go ahead and get started. So do confirm in the chat if I'm audible to you people or not. Just say yes in the chat. Meanwhile, I would like to inform you that at Great Learning, we have come up with Great Learning Academy, where there are 80 plus free courses that you people can register to, and on completion of those courses you'd be getting a certification that you people can add to your LinkedIn profile or to your resume. Another good thing that has happened, guys, is the electricity at my place is back, so I can actually go back and connect to my normal Wi-Fi settings. So let me quickly switch to it so that we can have. Okay, so guys, now we are connected on Wi-Fi as well, so there should not be any problem or any hindrance in this session. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so Wi-Fi connected, everything is in place and all looks good. Okay, so let's start. So guys, in this session we'll be talking about building mobile applications. Now when you talk about building mobile applications, there are two ways to approach that, right? I mean, whenever you think of mobile applications, we all think about developing applications to start with, right? The major pain there is to go ahead and write code, probably set in quite a few plugins, SDKs, and then go ahead and start working with the applications, right? So when you talk about building applications, the main aim should be to simplify the whole process. When you talk about AWS, it caters all your needs when it comes to building applications. Be it if you want to build an end-to-end e-commerce website where you want to have a proper backend, even that is possible. And if you're looking for simple front-end static websites or websites that do not require you to have too much effort to put in, you can build those using AWS. So in this session, we'll be talking about both kind of applications, and we'll go about seeing how can you actually go ahead and build them. Okay, so let's quickly take a look at the agenda or offerings of today's session. We'll start off by discussing what is cloud computing in a nutshell and very quickly. Once this is done, we talk about what is AWS, right? Post that, we talk about AWS Honeycode, which again is a service that lets you build applications without having to code. The next one is AWS Amplify. This is something that simplifies the process of building complicated applications. Yes, with code, but it also simplifies quite a few things. How does it do that? We'll talk about both of these things and see which one we can implement practically. Finally, we would finish this session off with a demo part where I would talk about how to create applications using Honeycode, and I'll give you a brief as in how can you go about using Amplify also to create these applications. Okay, so again, if we are to see how Amplify works, there could be certain installations that I'd be guiding you through, so you can do that and try those applications as well. But when you talk about Honeycode, it's very easy. You don't have to do any installations whatsoever. So let's go ahead and get started quickly. Okay, so guys, in case if you have any questions, make sure you put those in the chat and I'd be more than happy to take your questions. Okay, now that all the formalities are out of the way, let's quickly get started and understand how can we actually go ahead and work with applications using Amazon Web Services. So first and foremost, why cloud computing? Let's try and understand cloud computing in a nutshell. I'm gonna spend 10 minutes talking about cloud computing and AWS, and then we'll move to the demo part. Okay, I think the connection has re-established now and it should go ahead and work. Dear attendees, I hope I'm audible now and you people can hear me. Can you please confirm again if I'm audible? Yes. So finally it's the mobile internet that has been helping. I thank you all for the patience that you people have been showing. I really want this session to go ahead and for you people to have a proper demo. It's highly unfortunate that we have to actually go ahead and do this. We normally do not come across such situations. But now that I'm connected through the mobile internet, I'm hopeful that we should be able to survive this session. So let's just go ahead and quickly wrap this why cloud computing and all these things, right? Since we've already lost out on a lot of time, I want you all to get as much knowledge as you can out of this session. Okay, so let's start by understanding why cloud computing. So if I go back like 15 years from now, in order to set up an infrastructure, in order to build an application, we needed to set up servers first, right? We needed an infrastructure which was backed up by server where we could store our data, right? We could run our databases there, basically do computation, right? Handle and monitor data that is there. But when you talk about this approach, there were problems, and there were quite a few problems here. Those problems were: one, we had to invest heavily in this setup. What that means is we had to pay a lot of money to people to actually go ahead and get these servers, this infrastructure in place. Why? Because the servers that we bought back then were costly. They're still costly today, but comparatively they're cheaper now. But back then they were more costlier, or they were costlier rather. So in order to actually go ahead and set up an infrastructure, you needed to set up servers first. Now, the other part is you needed resources, people who were skilled, and we still need these resources who are skilled enough to actually go ahead and manage these data centers, these databases. Now, again, when you talk about setting up these databases, infrastructures, data centers, right, you need a lot of effort in patching, right, bug fixing and stuff like that. So there are continuous checkups that happen, and you have to actually go ahead and set it up properly every now and then, which could again be a tedious task, and paying these resources again requires you to put in a lot of money. The third thing is, when you talk about application hosting, you're talking about traffic that comes into your websites, right? So when you talk about this traffic, it can be varying. Say for example, when you're shopping in Diwali, right, there are more people who would shop during that time. So a website like Amazon or maybe Flipkart would experience a lot of traffic. And if they are not able to handle or scale up to those requirements, their system could crash, or there could be delays in processing requests. So you need to have a system that can scale up to the needs and also scale down when we are not using these resources. So this was also a problem if you go back like 10 years from now. And all these problems were solved by cloud computing. What cloud computing did was it gave on-demand services like computation, storage, server, networking and stuff like that on rental basis. That means you could actually go ahead and rent these resources. So what this meant was, when you talk about companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, they have huge data centers where they process all the data that they have. What they thought was, if we could rent these resources to others to use, and we could charge them only for the resources they consumed, they would find it cheaper to use these resources, and they can actually go ahead and host their applications here. So it is a win-win situation for everyone. Amazon, Microsoft, Google, these companies are charging you on rental basis. Their excess resources are getting used, and you as a user could also actually go ahead and put forth your applications without having to worry about all this infrastructure and resources that you need. So that is what cloud computing provided you with. It is very similar or analogous to how electricity works. What that means is, when you talk about something like cloud computing, basically what you do is you use a particular resource. Maybe you'll set up an instance, you'll set up a storage service, right? And you'll use or consume the resources in some amount or the other. Now what that would do is, basically when you're done using those resources, you can actually go ahead and release those, and you'll be charged only for the resources that you use and for the time duration you've used them. Something called as paid or metered usage of resources. It is similar to electricity, because for electricity also we do the same thing. We consume electricity in one form or the other, and once we are done consuming those resources, we actually go ahead and release or basically pay only for the units of electricity that we've consumed. We do not worry about maintaining or monitoring the electricity. The board does for you. In cases of application, your cloud computing vendor does that for you. So that is what cloud computing is in a nutshell. I hope that you people have understood what cloud computing is. Okay, let's now go ahead and talk about other pointers as well. Again guys, if you have any questions, make sure you put those in the chat box. I'll be more than happy to take your questions. Pranav Gupta says, would this video be private or public? This video would be public since we are trying to finish this session. If it ends as per plan, this would be public. Do not worry about that. If it is not in a public state, we'll ensure that we edit the content that we have and we re-put it out on our YouTube channel so that you people can actually go ahead and take a look at it. Okay, so do not worry about that. So when you talk about cloud computing, this is what it is. And when you talk about cloud computing vendors or service providers, one of the leading service providers in the market is Amazon Web Services. So again, when you talk about Amazon Web Services, it is an on-demand service provider that provides on-demand services, be it your computation, storage, networking, security, be it your management, application development, DevOps, IoT, a number of other domains, right? Machine learning, data science. You can do all these kind of activities on top of a cloud platform. What AWS does is it gives you a platform, an infrastructure, or a software that you can actually go ahead and consume or utilize or configure to meet your needs. Depending upon your requirements, you have services for all these things. And when you talk about AWS, it provides like 200 or 250 plus services to be precise, which serve different purposes, different domains. So that is why, again, when you talk about AWS in particular, it is a go-to service when you talk about cloud computing in general. Okay, so that is what Amazon Web Services is. It offers features like it is highly cost effective, uses metered usage for payment, where you'll be paying as you go and you'd be charged on as low as per minute basis or per second basis in some cases. So if you use a service for say like 30 minutes, you'll be charged only for those 30 minutes. To give you an example, I recently left one of the services open, which was not under free tier. Even though it was left open, I was charged like 12 rupees and 58 paisas in Indian currency. So I mean, that as precise as that. So if you use a resource for like 2-3 minutes, you'll be charged only for that duration. I'm just giving you an example. So when you talk about security, again, they ensure they have physical and network security throughout. So your resources would be safe here. You have 24/7 guards, 24/7 having guards monitoring those data centers there. You would not know the location of the data centers. Apart from that, there are various services, be it about identity and access management, be it about encryption, right? I mean, be it about having security guards in place. When I say security guards, I'm talking about network security guards that ensure you have firewalls, you have data encryption in place. You have services that concern all these requirements with AWS. Apart from that, it is highly available. That means you can put your data in different parts of the world at different data centers. So if one of the data centers goes down, you can have a backup of it, a replication of it somewhere else to have a copy of it with you in terms of downtime, right? Apart from that, highly scalable. You can scale up in minutes to very large instances, to better storage, to better facilities. Again, that comes subjective to the pricing, but yeah, you can scale up and scale down to meet your needs, and highly flexible. When you have like 250 plus services operating in 245 plus countries, you know the amount of flexibility that you can expect out of a platform like AWS. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started. Let's try and understand how you can actually go ahead and build applications. What are the services that we have on our plate and what all can we do with it? Okay, meanwhile, let me quickly see if there's a question that I need to attend. So I'm gonna quickly go ahead and try and attend those questions. Sir, any information on AWS security? I just told you about that, right? I mean, there are plenty of services. I hope you were listening to me. So there are plenty of services that are there in the market that let you keep your data secure, right? When it comes to AWS, like there are services like I'll show you those services. Do not worry about that, and I'll tell you what do those services do as well. So once we get into the demo part, I'll just quickly give you a walkthrough as to what are the services there, so that everybody can follow it up as well. Okay, do we require any prior knowledge for this session? Nagesh Kulkarni, no, we do not require much prior knowledge. Basic know-how of how AWS console works is enough. If not, I'll be guiding you through the process for that as well. Do not worry about that. Okay. Is it free of cost? Hriday Babel says, what are you referring to, Hriday? Could you be specific as in what pricing are you asking about? Sir, do we have any AWS any advantage over? So does AWS have any advantage over Azure? Okay, sorry, I just did not read the bottom part. Again, Prasad, it is very specific to what you're trying to achieve, right? When you talk about AWS, there are more options in terms of services that you can opt for. Even the interface, if you look at it, AWS has a smoother or an easier interface compared to Microsoft Azure. So yes, there are benefits that AWS has. Now, when you talk about Azure, it also has its own benefits. If you're looking for hybrid infrastructures, then Azure is a better option to choose from. But if you're looking for more options in terms of services, right, so AWS would be a better option for you. Okay, so Hriday says Hriday has said AWS, so he's referring to the pricing, right? Is it free of cost? Hriday Babel, there are quite a few services that AWS offers which are free of cost, and you can actually go ahead and use these services, right? So once you have to actually go ahead and create a free tier account, once you do that, you'll be having quite a few services that fall under the free tier which are free of cost, so you can use that. And if you want to get started, those free services are more than enough. The power at my place has come back, but I'm too afraid to actually go back and switch to the Wi-Fi because we've been experiencing a lot of problems. So I'm going to continue with the mobile data. So let's just go ahead and continue understand what Honeycode is. I'll take some of your questions. I still see questions coming in. Guys, let your questions come in. Meanwhile, I talk about AWS Honeycode and Amplify. Once I'm done with that, I'll attend some of your questions before we get into the demo part. Okay. So what exactly is Honeycode? Well, when you talk about Honeycode, it is a fully managed AWS service. It lets you develop powerful mobile and web applications without writing any code. Yes, you don't have to write code. You can write certain, basically you can put in certain filters or basically put in certain conditions that are similar to writing code. So that is why I've said that almost zero code in the title. The reason for that is you could be required to code a little if necessary. If not, you can have it as a plain usage as well, right? So that is what Honeycode is. It is more of a worksheet access kind of a thing where you can create worksheets, workbooks, and on top of that you can build applications that you can share with others, and you can interact with those applications as well, and you do not need to code for this particular service, that is AWS Honeycode. I'll give you a walkthrough as to how it works, right? And it is very true what you see here. You can build apps in minutes and you do not need code for that. The next one is your AWS Amplify. It is an end-to-end solution that enables mobile and front-end web developers to build and deploy secure, scalable, full-stack applications powered by AWS. So again, with Amplify, you can build web apps, you can build mobile apps. Now you'd wonder, as in when you have Honeycode, why do you need something like Amplify where you are gonna code? See, there are quite a few functionalities that you can add using Amplify, right? Whether you want to connect to a backend, right? Whether you want to build applications and migrate it for different platforms, you can do all these things. So you get more functionality here. When you talk about Honeycode, it was released in May, June, July, somewhere during that time this year, and it still has quite a few functionalities that needs to be added to it. Say for example, now you can add Honeycomb APIs to basically connect with the backend, but that has started recently. So there are not a lot of options that you have with Honeycode. But the best thing about Honeycode is if you do not have coding knowledge, you can still work with it. So we're gonna go ahead and build an app using Honeycode, and post that I'm gonna also tell you how you can actually go ahead and approach building applications process using AWS Amplify. So stay tuned, right? Before I switch into the console and I give you an idea as to what all needs to be done, I'm gonna quickly take a couple more questions and then we can switch into the demo part. Okay. Can we use AWS in automation or IoT? Yes, Ritanshu, we can use AWS in automation or for coding or for IoT. Okay. Decent and Dashing says, is it easy to develop an Android app? Depends how complicated app do you want to develop, right? If you want a basic one, yes, you can definitely do that using something like Honeycode if you're not interested in coding. If you want to build better, bigger, complex apps, Amplify is a good option, which still simplifies a lot of setting up process for you compared to building applications outright from scratch using something like just an Android Studio. Okay. Ranjit Nilangam says, dear attendees, I request you all to please don't deviate the presenter to out of topic. Ranjit, I totally understand your concern. Do not worry, we'll be covering all that has been asked for. So irrespective of questions being thrown in, I'll ensure that the flow of the session does not get disturbed. Can I ask AWS to install OS? Like AWS is basically a platform on top of which you can create virtual machines. So you can create virtual machines like Windows, Linux, Ubuntu. But again, AWS is not an automation tool that would actually go ahead and automate the installation processes on your system. Rather, it would say we have our data centers here, put your data here and do all that you want to do here. So you can build virtual machines of these operating systems there. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll up and then come down, right? Ranjit Nilangam says how much is the rental cost, says Nagesh Kulkarni. Free tier services are free of cost, Nagesh. Should we get recorded video of this class? Prashant, this session would be there on Great Learning Academy, so register to that website. You can refer this video there as well, and this video would be available on our YouTube channel as well once the session ends. Okay. Okay, what are the other costs? Great Learning, we appreciate your efforts. Thank you, Ranjit. Sir, any information on AWS security? I've answered this already. Do we require prior knowledge? This has been done. Can we do this demo with Android? Jayashree, I'll walk you through what all we are gonna do in the demo. Do not worry. Okay. Sir, I'm from commerce background. I do not know anything about AWS. Will it be easy for me to learn? This demo would be easy for you to actually go ahead and grasp. Jasmita says, can I ask AWS to, okay, this has been answered already. Sir, please continue the session. Yes, we are starting. Is it easy to develop an Android app? Answered. So I believe most of the questions that were asked have been answered. Guys, whatever new questions have come up, I'll answer those as well. So let's go ahead and build an app now. We have like good 20-30 minutes to still go ahead and work with these applications. So let's do that. I'm going to switch into my console here. So guys, for people who were asking about AWS free tier, while we start the demo, I'm going to answer quite a few questions. All you have to do is look for AWS free tier console. You would be redirected to this page and it would ask you to sign up. Enter your credit card or debit card details. They would charge you like 2 Indian rupees. I'm not sure about the US charges, but in India it's like 2 Indian rupees for the verification process. Post that, you won't be charged anything. Okay, all you have to do is ensure that you follow the free tier limits and you won't be charged. So when you do that and if you log in, I'll show you how the AWS console looks like. So here too we'll be discussing quite a few other things, right? So since I'm connected on my mobile phone, it's very slow right now and the power has been back for a very long time, so I think I can switch to the so I've switched into my Wi-Fi again. Sorry, the reason I'm doing that is I want this demo to work nice and slow, and I'm hopeful that it won't be disconnected any longer now. So let's just quickly log in. Yeah, there you go. So it's logged in now. You see, this is how the interface looks like when you talk about AWS, right? So again, some of you asked about what are these security options that we have. If you click on services here, you see there's a separate domain for security. It should be somewhere here. Scroll down, and where do you read security in here? You see security, identity and compliance. So there's so many services that you have which serve different purposes, right? From encryption to SSHing to IAM accesses, right? To getting in firewalls in place, right? Whether you talk about putting in shields, right? All these things can be taken care by these services that you see here: security, identity and compliance. Okay, Internet of Things, somebody asked me about that. See, you can connect or do these many things. All these different things let you set up the infrastructure, right from setting up a router kind of a thing where you can connect to other devices, have a central management system, to basically having one-click devices and audio, video streaming and all kind of these options that you want. So all these things can be done by using IoT services that AWS offers. Now the question on our plate is, what can we do when you talk about Honeycode? I search for Honeycode here, it would take me to a new page. So guys, once you connect to Honeycode, So this is where it will bring you. Don't do that, just look for this particular link, right? So this is the developer link that you have, and it's this, that is builder.honeycode.aws. so you would be redirected to this page. So guys, again, you would be required to sign up here. Once you do sign up, you can do quite a few things with this particular tool that you have, which is an AWS product again. So note one thing, all you have to do is put in your email ID and your password, and you'd be logged into this thing. Another thing that you can do is you can download this thing on Play Store, so that you can actually go ahead and take a look at all the workbooks and applications that you create. So in Play Store, go ahead and look for AWS Honeycode, and you should be able to see this app there. If you download it, you'll be able to see all the apps that you want to. I've actually gone ahead and started a software, basically a casting software. Since I do not have the latest version of Windows, I cannot cast it directly, so I had to download a third-party software. But the problem is, since there were frequent power cuts, I could not get it set up to show you the applications on mobile. I was planning to basically have a emulator of my mobile on my computer, but that is not possible. But you people can do this parallelly with me. Create a particular workbook and download this AWS Amazon Honeycode, and whatever applications you build here, if you sign in with the same account in your mobile app, you will see all those applications there, and you can interact with it in live time, in live stream basically. So go ahead and do that. Let's create a workbook, guys. This is a fairly simple thing. I'll show you how can you actually go ahead and set up an interface here. Again, guys, there are options for you to go ahead and create custom applications, right, which are true for web and for mobiles. And you can also go ahead and basically create everything from scratch. So I'm going to show you both the processes. So let's start by creating a workbook quickly. Since we are very less on time, I'm not going to add in too much functionalities here, and we are not going to spend too much time beautifying our app. I'm going to rather quickly show you how to get this done, and I'm sure you all can do it. Okay, let's call this workbook as demo workbook. Okay, and I'm going to say create. So guys, if you've noticed, I've selected an option called as create from scratch here. Okay, so you can actually go ahead and use custom templates as well if you want to. That is also an option that you have. I've personally never tried creating custom templates, so when you do that, you get more functionality there. But since it is so easy, why create custom templates, right? You can do everything from scratch. So the first thing that I have is I have tables here, so I can put in my data in the table. Do not worry, I'll tell you why Honeycode is important, what are its applications, but let's just go ahead and quickly build an application from scratch first. Okay, so let's just assume that I want to have an application where I'm managing my employee attendance. Okay, so let's just go ahead and try and do that. Okay, so again, this is something that thought came into mind right away. So I've never built an employee app before. I've mostly built other apps, but for now let's just try and build one. There's no rocket science here. Let's rename this particular folder and let's call it employee attendance. We would first build the backend part of things, right? And once we are done with that, then we'll actually go ahead and see how the interface looks in the front end. Okay, so I'm gonna hit the enter button, right? So the name has been changed now, and let's just give this column a certain name. Let's call it, say, name of the employee. Okay, what are the other things that we can add here? ID, right? And what is the other thing that we can add here? Attendance. Okay, so we are building a very basic app here. Okay, do not put in a lot of thought process. Let's give in certain names. We have Ram, we have Shampriti, right? We have Mudita, we have Chirag, we have Bhavya, and we have someone like Vishal. Okay, let this field have IDs, right? And let's just go ahead and add attendance here. Okay, So okay, so we have one table that is in place. We'll align everything later, but that's for the later part. Let's create another table here, right? And let's just go ahead and say, let's call this table as what should we call it? Let's call it, rename as ID. I do not want these. So this table is not adding a lot of value, but still let's have one, right? And I'm just gonna take a look at some of the data that we have in this table quickly. So we have 6 records here. Let it be 6. Let me add one more table now, and let's call this table status. That is for the attendance that we have. Okay, so let's call it attendance stat. Let's delete these. Let's delete this as well. So if I go to employee attendance, I have present and absent. There you go. So guys, the table is in place. We have all these 3 tables with all the records that we need. Now let's go ahead and create an interface for the app that we need. So we've created a workbook in which we put in certain sets of details that we require. I'm gonna go ahead and open this workbook again, and I'm gonna come here and say click on builder, add a new app. You can use an app wizard that again beautifies stuff for you, so you can try those things out. The aim is you understand how the basics work here, right? So for now, let's not get into the details of those things. Let's call it employee attendance to start with, right? So once you do that, you should be having an interface that you need to put in place. Let's just go ahead and add some other features, functionalities here. Right now we know that we have these things in place. We can also go ahead and beautify these things a little. So you have an option of adding an object here. So this is how the template would look for you, more or less, right? So we can just go ahead and say add. When you say add, you're gonna go ahead and add a content box here. Let's call this content box as details, maybe daily details. And inside this, I'm going to go ahead and add a list here where we are going to go ahead and import all the data that we put in 3 tables that we've just created. So employee attendance is what I want to do here. And within a minute, you should see that this has been put in place. Let's see if we can beautify this a little. I'm going to select this part and I'm going to change color for this particular theme. Let's keep it a little formal. So I'm going to go ahead and use maybe this color, and in the interim let me go ahead and change this piece of color. Let's make it white. So there you go, we have our text in place. We have all the details that we need. Let's bold this text that we have, right, so that it looks a little better. And I'm gonna select this text as well. Unfortunately I cannot format it. I do not know why that is the case. I'll have to look into it. But as you can see, we have a template in place, right? So what you can also do is you can actually go ahead and have a different table here in that table, or different list here, where you can add some functionality saying that if somebody is present, then show that person's attendance here. If somebody is absent, you can go ahead and show that person's attendance here. That is doable. Okay, so let's just skip that for now. Let's just go ahead and see how does this app look like, the one that we've created. So I'm gonna view this app here. And so guys, when you create these applications and if you download the Honeycode app from your Play Store in your phone, whatever changes you make here, those would be visible in your app that you have with you. So make sure you go ahead and take a look at that as well. Okay. Ladakh information says it's not clear seeing, sir. What are the things that you need more clarity on Ladakh? Could you be specific? Kashyap Pandu says, great session, useful for app development. I'm glad you like it, Kashyap. Guys, if you have any questions, make sure you put those questions in the chat. I'd be reverting back to your questions at the earliest, or reverting to your questions at the earliest rather. So guys, you see the app is visible now, right, in the web domain right now. If you want to take a look at this app in your mobile, you can take a look at it, and all this data would be visible there as well. Again, the formatting is not in place. You can edit that later, but that is not our purpose right now. Our main focus is how to go ahead and create an app, right? So again, if somebody is present, right, so what I want is, I want this present or absent button to have a specific color. So can I go ahead and add a button here instead, right? Let's try and do that. So when you talk about somebody being present, let this content box, can I add a particular color to it? Right, I can. So let's add your text a particular color, making it white, right? And instead you can even have a button here if you want to. So you can add buttons here. When you add a button, if you click on this particular thing, it will have certain functionality. You can make it move around. So that is the other thing that you can do. Now if I go back to the app again, you see there's an instant reflection here, right? So guys, when you ask about these kind of applications, you might have a question here, right? What is the use of this kind of an app? Now if you add more functionality here, as I've mentioned, you can have another table here. Let me show you, then probably that would make little more sense to you. Let's just select a column list, and in the column list again import this data, right? And as I've mentioned here, you can actually go ahead and represent the data where people are present. So if you can just go ahead and delete this for now and add a button here instead. So in this button you can have another text like present, and you can probably add in some colors. Okay, so if you just come back here, okay, this is not reflecting here. You see it's reflecting now. Unfortunately, it is showing that everybody is present here. That is not true about this data though. What you can do is you can actually come here and select this functionality and probably add a source code here setting, right? So if you add a filter here saying that for the particular table and particular column, what is the name of this thing? Attendance equal to present. So if you do that, only the people who are present in your table, that data would be reflected here, and you can do that. So again, you might ask a question as in, what is the benefit of having an application like this, right? What all can you do with it? Just a minute, guys. There's somebody by the name of Kariminati. I'm not sure whether it's a legal account. If it is, Kariminati, I know you for the YouTube videos that you create, and you do a great job. We love your roasts, it's wonderful. And so Google Pay Store is asking $25. What should I do? Kariminati, I did this free of cost today morning. Stay tuned. After the session is over, make sure you put the same comment in the chat. I'll derive you, or basically drive you to the appropriate links, so you can actually go ahead and probably look for the right source. For me, the Play Store, it was completely free today. I did download it. I'll look into it why it is giving you that kind of an error there. Okay, so that would be dealt with. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue with the session that we are having on our plate, right? Let's just go ahead and talk about the stuff. So guys, this is how you can create an application. I stopped midway when I said that what is the use of these kind of applications. So when you add functionality here, what all can you do is you can actually go ahead and ensure that you can actually go ahead and add in more functionality. Like we could have even had an application here where you can actually go ahead and process attendance for people, right? What if we have an in-house tracker that we need, right? In a company, you have tools like Jira and all those that you use, which are very good, but again, their functionality is very structured and you have to follow the structure that is there. What if you need to have an in-house or in-team app that works differently for the team? You can create an attendance tracker there, right? You can create a sheet that meets your particular requirements, and you can probably share it in the form of apps where people can view that on their mobile phones, on their web apps, and whatever changes the admin or whoever has access to can make to it, those would be reflected for everyone and everyone can see those changes, right? So that is one benefit. You can also have basic setups. Let's assume that you want to start a business where you want to deliver groceries to people. Please forgive me, guys. There's a call that my mother's getting since I've tried all the mobile phones to connect to the internet, so that is the reason. There are a couple of mobiles lying here and her phone is unfortunately not on silent. Let me just quickly make it or put it on silent. Yeah. So let's assume that you want to create an online grocery delivery app. You can do that, right? You can create a worksheet here, put in the products that you want, and you can have buttons there, so people can actually go ahead and put in all the information that they want. Now you might ask, can we connect it to a backend? The functionalities here are still limited, but that is pretty much doable. Okay, so this is how you actually go ahead and build an app. As I've already mentioned, you can go ahead and create some template apps as well. So if I just come back here, right, and if I just come back here and if I delete this workbook, all that I've created would go. Okay, I want to do that. The reason for that is I'll show you why. Let's say create a workbook now, and this time let's say I want to pick something that is more of a template. So if I use a template, say team task tracker, create. So these are some templates that AWS also gives you, right? So let's just go ahead and see how it works. And there you go, there's a template in place for you. You can actually go ahead and create, right, an app for this. There's all the information here that you need, so you can actually go ahead and just come here and say build an app. Let's try and use an app wizard. I've never done that before, so I'm doing it with you people for the first time. I'm just gonna say next for now. Choose a table, it says, right? So what was the name of the table that we just created? Team tasks. Let's see if we can just go ahead and have a team tasks table here. So there was some table that I randomly picked up. I just want to see how does this wizard work for you, right? So after that, we are making an app for you and it is getting that done for you on its own, right? So for this M team, there's an app that is getting created. I'm not sure how that app is gonna look. Let's just go ahead and see. So it shows my name there as well. That's nice. And if you try to share this app, which I cannot for now, I'm just gonna say next to see how does this wizard work. And I say apply. So by default also you can go ahead and create a template. Let me just see how does the template look like. So I've just picked up a random table, a random data set, and I've just gone ahead and seen how it looks. This is how it looks. It's not very interactive, so this is a basic app that it has created. You can go ahead and create one more yourself, right? Come here and just say create an app. This is your team tasks app that was created by default, and you see all the functionality is here, right? So if you view it in the app form, you can see there would be some interaction that you can do with this app, which is again a template app. Okay, you see these are the details about the work, whether it's in progress, is it high on priority, and all those things, right? So it's created a daily update tracker. So you can add filters here as well. What are the filters? You can select an option. A newsletter is what you can look for, right? Assignee is Vishal Padghan. Again, guys, this is something that I'm doing just for the namesake. I'm just not aware about all the details. So there's no such thing in this record. So whatever data I've entered, it's not valid for assignee Vishal. So he's not worked on any of these kind of projects. So the task says there's nothing that we can display. So guys, I hope by now you've understood how to create an application, right, using Honeycode. I'm gonna take a couple of questions and then I'm gonna tell you how to work with AWS Amplify, and then we can probably rest this session. But before that, do not go away. I want you to take a look at that as well. It would be important. So guys, if you've liked what you've seen, make sure you leave a like for this video. It means a lot for us when you like this video, and that inspires us to create more such content. Also subscribe to the YouTube button so that you do not miss out on such sessions that we have regularly for you people. Okay, so I'm gonna take up a couple of questions quickly. Sir, I'm from commerce background, I don't know anything about coding. AWS, will it be easy to create an app? I believe the answer is with you background. I hope Mohammed Hussaini, I hope this answers your question, right? How easy it is to create an app here. Difference between AWS and Salesforce. AWS is a public cloud which offers IaaS and PaaS kind of offerings, and even SaaS to some extent. If you talk about Salesforce, it is predominantly a software as a service tool. Okay, so basically where a software is given to you for consumption. With AWS, you also have IaaS and PaaS facilities where you can set up an infrastructure or a platform. Okay. Jayashree V says thank you for your reply. Jayashree, I hope you've understood whatever was discussed here and that met your requirements. Sir, AWS tool is for programming. I joined just now. Seema Rathod, you can do programming and you can do a lot of things with AWS. Visit our YouTube channel again. This video would be public after the session is over and you can take a look at it. Okay. Does AWS have free storage? Yes, to some extent. There are quite a few services which give you free storage as well. Say for example, S3 gives you 5 GB of free storage. Again, after that you'd be charged. Okay. Sir, good afternoon. Could I also develop an app? Decent and dashing. I hope that answers your question. It's $1 for US audience, says Amit. Thank you for the reply. That is regarding the pricing, I assume. Sir, please answer. I've answered it. If I learn AWS, I know Java. I've known Java. Yes, you can learn AWS. It's fairly easy. You can implement Java on top of AWS. Satya 3D says nice. It's not clear seeing it. I hope it's clear now. Sir, it's not clear about the concept. Themeless, I hope everything is answered for you. So if whole application is completed, I would like to list in Play Store. Will it be directly available, or you'd have to look for some plugin? Right now, since it is fairly new, you can actually just move it to Honeycode app. In future, we'll be having that functionality soon where you can move all this to Play Store as well. How many storage capacity provided by AWS? I've answered that already. So please tell me end of the session where we'll get the certificate. Jayashree, you won't be getting a certificate for this session. You have to complete the courses on Great Learning's YouTube channel, not YouTube channel, on Great Learning Academy, where there are free courses. You can register to those, and if you complete those, you'll be getting a certification. Honeycode application is free on AWS. Yes, video, it is free on AWS to some extent. If you create longer applications and give access to multiple users, then you'd be charged. So please give me a video on uploading an app in Google Play Store freely. Amir will try and come up with that session soon. Okay. Okay, so guys, this is about AWS Amplify, or sorry, AWS Honeycode. You can actually go ahead and do quite a few things in AWS Amplify as well. Let's just come here and look for AWS Amplify, right? I'll just tell you what all can you do here. You see, in AWS Amplify, you can again develop web apps. Here, Amplify provides you frameworks for command line interface and library for creating applications. So if you come here, you can choose all these platforms for web applications, and for mobile you can use your Android. Again, there are step-to-step guides here how you can go ahead and do that. If you start the free tutorial, you'd be actually going ahead and putting in all these requirements. You have to create an Android Studio project though, so it's a time-consuming process to start with, because you'll need to install Node.js, Android Studio, and Android SDK. That is Android level API level 29 basically, and also install AWS Amplify CLI. So once you install all these things, you can actually go ahead and create a project here as well. But again, this is something where you'd be needing coding. Say for example, if you come here, this is the Android Studio that you look, this is how it looks like. If you just click on new project, right, you can just come here and say select a basic activity, click on next. You can go ahead and say create an application. All the details are here. I'm using Java platform. You can use Kotlin as well if you want to. That's up to you, right? What platform do you want to use? And just say finish. And if you click on finish, within few minutes your application should be your basic code should be up and running here. Now you might wonder, as in, once I have this code, this is something that is giving me an application in my it is giving me application in my Android Studio. What is AWS doing here? In that case, guys, what you people can do is you can actually go ahead and edit this code. How do you edit that code? You see, if you come here, there are certain instructions here. What they wanted to do is, in your main activity file or in your XML files, just replace some of these steps that are mentioned here. You'll have to replace these certain pieces of code with the AWS Amplify code. And once you do that, and if you set it up using the framework terminal here that you have, you see you have a terminal here. If you set it up using the terminal, you can actually go ahead and install these applications, and once you build it, you can basically have it run on your mobile phones as well, and also on the cloud. So since they are based on AWS cloud, now these applications is something that you can put in your Play Store as well. But again, this is a tedious task and a complicated process. So if you want to, you can definitely give it a try building these applications here from the scratch. Okay, so by now I believe, guys, we've talked about quite a few pointers. I hope that you understood how to go ahead and build Honeycode apps and what AWS Amplify is all about. Sir, please give a video on uploading. I've answered this. So guys, there are certain questions. There are only 2 languages I learn, only 5 languages. It's not there in Android Studio. Amir Sharif, unfortunately I cannot help you here. Forgive me for that. But guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this session and you've liked all that you've seen. If you've not registered to Great Learning Academy yet, make sure you go ahead and do register to Great Learning Academy, so you can avail the free courses that are there, and on completion of those courses you'll be getting a certification, and that you can add to your LinkedIn profile, to your resume, and that would hold a lot of value for you. Guys, if you've not liked this video, make sure you leave a like for this video right away, and do subscribe to our channel so that we come up with such content in near future. If you have any questions, guys, make sure you put those in the chat. I would be online for a minute. I'll answer your questions. If not, we can call off this session for today. Do let us know in the chat how do you feel this session was. So guys, if there are any questions, make sure you put those questions in the chat. As I've mentioned, whatever I say, the stream reaches to you people 10 seconds late. That is how the streaming software or the streaming process works in general. So make sure you put in details there. Whatever questions if you have, put it in the chat. I'll answer those. But the fact that I haven't seen any questions yet, I assume that everything that you saw was clear to you people. So let's call this session off for today, guys. It was nice talking to you people. Stay tuned to Great Learning channel for more such interesting content, and we promise we would come up with nicer and better contents for you people to go ahead and attend. Thank you.